starting, Dan? Rolling. All right, welcome to our corner. What's left of it. Big up COE. Yeah, I'm Raven. We're going to do our corner. Funny enough, today we had some really good talks, and the thing with the spirit of Speaker's Corner, nice summer day, whatever, but sometimes some of the best talks you don't get to catch. So I see if I can do a recap of some good topics we're covering. And I met some brothers, and if they were here, they wouldn't want to be on camera because they work and they don't like people seeing them on camera, whatever. But they were telling me that some of them, they went through some challenges growing up, and some of them ended on the wrong side of the law, and in their early 20s and their 20s, they found themselves locked up in this kind of stuff. And then they end up finding a new job, and then they turn their life around. But a lot of them now are trying to get into tech. So obviously, if you try to get into tech, you talk to Raven, innit? And I think particularly they're trying to get into UX design. So for those who don't know UX design, that's user experience design. And what that is that's like when you use an app or any kind of application, the person who's actually designing how it functions, how people interact with it, that's known as a UX designer. I think they're probably getting into it because it's one of them jobs that actually pays quite a lot. And you don't need to know about programming or actual design. You can actually get into it. So they were talking about this, and they found out this is one of the jobs I do. And I said, okay, well, one thing I'm going to try to do as well is find as many brothers and sisters who are trying to get into tech, trying to get into this kind of work, and have like training sessions on Zoom. And I think the brother also told me that he actually was paying to do a course. So it's good to see that the brother's taking something serious, he's willing to pay. So if I see any brothers and sisters out there who put the money in, they go do the courses, they want to train, and that shows me that they're serious, and I can take to the next step and try to help them and teach them things, and the next step in their career, whatever. And actually, the reason I'm doing this is because we're asking the bigger question now from our corner is, what jobs are beneficial for the black collective, yeah? So what jobs are they? So for me, I'm obviously pushing tech and apps, and the reason is any problems that we have, we should be able to make an app to find solutions. So, for example, if you want to find certain kind of work, certain kind of people who own a certain kind of restaurants or certain kind of businesses, it would be good if we had an app for that. So it would be good if the brothers and sisters come together and make apps. So we're also asking, what other jobs do we think is quite necessary, for the black community, right? We got some brothers here who said they might want to come and throw some ideas. But for me, I think app design is important, and I'm willing to sit down and do pro bono work to train the brothers and sisters, on Zoom or on some kind of video online conference, or the intro of these kind of the technologies, the businesses, and why they're beneficial for the black community. But it's a shame you missed, family. You missed a great discussion earlier. Because it's very good to find the mindset of what people do when they're younger, how they fell into certain traps, and how they're trying to get out of it, and how they're looking at tech to be a way to pivot out of where they're at, whatever.
What a little bit, I'm saying like this, if you don't know certain things, then you don't know what you're missing, innit?
So what brother said, if you couldn't hear him, was the thing is, some brothers and sisters, right, they live in certain environments, and what they see is what they know. So maybe they might see their brother or their cousin doing something, and might not be the best option, who knows, right? And then they follow suit, and before you know it, they might see like a quick turnaround, which is always very appealing. But as you know, unfortunately, sometimes if you get caught doing certain things, you do time, you lose your money, and the time you lose, you can never get back. So I think they're saying that had they have known their careers out there, they're quite lucrative, quite inspirational, this kind of stuff, maybe they went down that path. So I guess it's our job as a community to try to highlight the works that are beneficial to the community and how people can get into it. And also, if you're someone who's learning these fields, maybe doing pro bono courses, that's introduction courses, as I'm looking to do. But first, I need to know how many brothers are into tech. Do you want to be a developer? Do you want to be a UX designer? Do you want to be a UI designer? Do you want to be a big data? Do you want to, you name it, do you want to be a graphic designer? Even a video editor, photographer, cinematographer, you name it, right? Yeah. I don't know. We need to have these conversations, find the people who want to get involved, put them in certain kind of forums, and just really try to direct them to get in a certain place. But yeah, so that's me. That's what I wanted. That's what we did cover. But that's a speed briefing of what the camera missed. But hopefully we can get people down here in future times, and we get COE's attention next time, whatever, and we will proper film. But anyway, brother, is there any kind of work you think that might be beneficial for the black community? Anything that you think might be trying to steer the youth into the direction? Anything at all?
first thing I like to say, I'm not the best example of career and, you know, starting from 18 and developing yourself. I was a bit of a late bloomer. At the moment, right now, I'm out of work because I'm dealing with a keloid, blah, blah. But I think it's excellent what you said about the technology and computers. I'm a dropout biomed student. I think science and technology is probably the thing where we're lacking in. Because in technology is the part where you talk about information technology and the science part. And it is said that in a lot of newspapers in England, they said that there's institutional racism when it comes towards people who have graduate degrees in a science field. And to be fair, we do need black people taking an interest in science and technology. We cannot be we cannot lay the burden upon our Caucasian brothers and our sisters, and our Asian brothers and sisters to develop destiny. We cannot lay them with the burden of always having to develop medicines for us, develop technologies for us, you know, develop our path in life for us. We shouldn't lay the burden. And when they do not do something for us that we think is to our liking, we can't kick up a stink and say, oh, they're not got that ready for us, or they're not doing this for us. Like we need to take the burden away from Caucasian and Asian people when it comes to science and technology. We need to try and put our foot down and put our graft in when it comes to science and technology, and we need to start getting our children into falling in love with science and technology.
I agree with that, brother. I agree. So you said yourself that you're doing biomed, am I right?
Yeah, dropout biomed, foundation degree.
So what was the motivation for you to start the course?
I love biology. And also I do believe that at some point there has to be an institute of science where it deals with the actual, how can I explain, the melanated people. Because at the end of the day, there is differences in people, even when it comes to treatment in medicine, and when it comes to even surgeries and stuff, and skin problems, and you know, it's as much as we share many similarities with all our brothers and sisters of different creeds and colours, there is differences, and then these differences can cause issues when they're dealing with health issues and treatment. And I do believe that we need an institute of science where we have specifically for how can I explain, melanated pneumotype.
Because so you're saying that obviously there's certain needs that black people have, and if black people are not actually leading in the way in those things, then we cannot bear the burden.
We cannot bear the burden on just Caucasian people researching sickle cell problems, researching skin problems, researching diabetes problems that we get a lot, researching the reason why black people keep getting prostate problems, researching why black women start to get messed up metabolism and hormones, and they start getting overweight, and even when they stop eating, they keep gaining the weight. We cannot lay the burden upon the Caucasians to keep making everything better all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if, I don't know if that's what people do. I think, but I do feel that there is a value in teaching your children the benefits of these kind of sciences, right?
Yeah.
But then also, because you said yourself that unfortunately you started, but then you came out. So
yeah, I wasn't committed and immature.
So what is it that? Because obviously we have to use it as a case study. We want the children to start stuff and not come out. What could we do to minimise that happening?
With me, myself, I just was immature and not committed. I'm saying on a broad range, give encouragement and make them as if they're doing something that is on a heroic level.
Right, purpose.
You got to make them feel like they are doing something. You got to bear a burden of responsibility. It might sound strange, but you got to bear a burden on them as if they're carrying basically the racist.
That's why they have.
They're carrying the racist problems to fix.
You know, I actually agree with that. Yeah,
and they'll take it on board. They'll run with
it. In the sense of, I think that there's a value in raising children, black children, to see themselves as part of a community, and the efforts they do is they're finding solutions to the challenges that both face black community.
Yeah, because I literally say to the children, listen, we're bearing you the burden of fixing the problems we created. Tell them that. Tell the black children, we're bearing you with the responsibility. We're obviously going to help you to fix the problems we created. We didn't stick our heads down to start doing this stuff before. We're bearing you, but when you actually complete what you do, we will put you on the pedestal of heroes in the community.
Okay, that's an interesting way of doing it. So you're saying that you acknowledge that the ball was dropped in the early generations, but we're looking to. But then in that case, it would have to be a collaboration attempt in the sense of. I don't know if it would be perceived as right if the elder generations messed up, and then it was to be solely fixed by the youth generation. There needs to be a support system and a help system where.
We'll support them, but a lot of us are tainted with our old habits. So that's why it's a case of where we have to support them rather than them supporting us. They have to lead the way. We'll keep repeating this generational thing if it's the elders who's leading.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting angle there. So definitely you're saying there's a value in actually being dedicated to saying this is a black community and there are particular things that are going on that we can actually solve ourselves, and it's the burden of us within the group to solve it. And the youth.
You have to sit with our youths and say to them, listen, it is my fault and the rest of my generation's fault and the generation before you is that you have to go and beg a white male or an Asian male or an Arab male for a job.
Right, okay.
It's our fault that you got to go and go to all of their supermarkets. It's our fault that you have to go there for all your education. It's our fault you got to even buy your water from them. It's our fault. We have to be honest with them. There's none of this, we just came into this world and things were just like this. No, you got to take accountability, and then it gives them the point where they're saying, well, they'll respect you and be like, well, you know what? At the end of the day, they'll be like, at least you're taking accountability for where you didn't, step up.
If they ask why did you let all these things drop, what do you reckon the answer would be then?
For me personally, I'll say this. This is for me. I don't know about any other black people. But this is for me personally. As the children said to me, why don't you get started quicker than what you're doing now? I go, as a waste man, I just believe that as long as I just basically make some money, keep my head down, and don't step on the white people's toes, everything will be all right.
Right.
Simple.
Okay. And that didn't work out then? Did that work out at all, that philosophy?
Is it working out now? Because I don't smoke no more. I don't drink no more. Last year, I was able to travel many places, even during the corona. Basically, I've opened my horizons to many things since I've started inputting certain protocols into my... I'm so determined. Let me tell you how determined I am when it comes to... I'm not working at the moment, but for the past, how can I explain? For the past 3 months to 4 months, I've had a very bad problem with the keloid. And I've got open wound hair. I've got pictures of my Instagram of it. It's fucking horrible, yeah? But at the same time, I said I want to keep myself fit. And at the end of the day, people would be like, oh, no, you have to take it easy and that. But I believe that, what's the point of letting this heal and then the rest of my body deteriorates? If that makes any sense. So I had to be very disciplined and determined to keep basically training and whatnot. It wasn't very light training and eating certain things. You know what I mean? You have to just be disciplined. It's a case of where, don't get me wrong.
So you're very health conscious at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you said before you were smoking and drinking, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the problem might be is, if you're doing it around the next generation, then that might be influenced. That might pass on to them. So I guess the thing is now, if you now recognise that wasn't helping you, then the newfound love for health, drinking healthy, not smoking, not drinking, this kind of stuff, that might be your job to then pass that. And the reason that's the next thing.
And with the generation, I think the best way to talk to young people where I wouldn't go to a young person and say, don't do that because this will happen. Don't do that happen. My way of saying, if someone said to me, listen, I need you to speak to a group of young people to show them why you shouldn't do this and why you shouldn't do that. And like me personally, I'd probably take them to, say, a hospital ward so they can see some people who actually are suffering from the repercussions of a drug. I'd take them to visit some homeless people so they can see the repercussion of taking the drug. I'd even take them to some of my family members where they'd even say, oh yeah, back in the day, he used to say, oh, can I just have £20? I just want to go get some extra shopping or something. But really that's going towards weed or whatever, yeah. I'd show them straight up, like, what it is. I wouldn't say, oh, just don't do that and do this. Like, you have to be straight up with them and be like, why? Why not to do that?
So you recognise that addiction and these kinds of things has played a historical big part in I guess, deorganising the black community in some aspects. Because if everyone's getting high and drunk, then you can't really build, can you? And you're probably not going to do any kind of building a constructive
Only
work.
thing is where I can't say that is this. Now, let me explain to you this. This is where I don't want to give black people the excuse. This is where black people don't have the excuse for sniffing coke or drinking booze or smoking weed. I've known some white men in the past, they've sniffed 100 pounds of coke on the weekend, smoked spliff upon spliffs during the week, drink every day in the pub after work, but they still go to work every day. They're still putting the bacon on the table. You see, black man not got no excuse.
Okay. Right.
I know plenty of white men do hella drugs.
Right.
And they're still and they're plenty consistent with putting the bacon on the table, and they're not even abusive, they're not beating up their wife or anything, they just get hella fucking out of their head. So I can't even say, nah, there's no excuse for drinking or drugs. Man, I know white guys fucking do 10 times the amount of drugs as some black guys I know who are whatless.
Right. Okay, so after saying that, would you still recommend that maybe that might not be the path to go down? Would you still recommend?
Oh yeah, black people just don't need to take no fucking, black people do not need to take no drugs.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not an excuse.
But when you talk about, you seem very passionate, so there's obviously like, you're well aware of the history of it.
Yeah, but I've been able to see different demographics of drug takers, like, I'm not a big drug dealer, nothing like that, but obviously when you live in urban communities, you have friends of different people and whatnot, and you see people's behaviour, you go in people's houses and stuff.
What could have happened? So right now, I don't need to know your particulars, but you mentioned it. But what could have the elder generation do to minimise you going down the path of experimenting with certain drugs that kept you out of doing the stuff you said you wanted to do?
What they could do to stop them from doing it.
So what could the elder have done to make you not go down the path of taking certain kind of drugs and this kind of thing?
I reckon something constructive to do.
Were you destined to go down that path, or was it that? Because ultimately, if you're saying you did something that didn't work, then we want to definitely make sure we.
I would say I would never peer pressured into doing weed, into alcohol. Never peer pressured. It's always been around me from a young age. I was a bit late me smoking and drinking. I was a bit late. I think I was only like about. I started drinking I used to drink little rum here and there. When I was like 13 to 17, but the rum was just, my mum used to keep bottles of overproof, and I sometimes have a shot before school. That's just a little thing like that, and weed a bit later on.
So you seeing your parents having it around is how you got access to alcohol?
Yeah, but they weren't a heavy drinker. My mum wasn't a heavy drinker. She just used to keep the bottle there, and I just started actually just tasting a little bit, and I add water to it sometimes. And
13.
Yeah, because this bit of stress is here and there, things were going on.
So at 13 you were stressed and alcohol was the...
Yeah, sometimes I used to have a little shot before I used to go to... Because obviously I'm not a drinker, that one shot would do enough for me just to give me a little buzz before I go to school. And obviously that's just waste anyway. But it wasn't every time, it's just sometimes when I felt stressed. But yeah, but that's not the way on. That's not normal.
We definitely don't want to push kids through any stress, but if they are, we definitely don't want to recommend alcohol as the solution.
You're right.
And I always ask people who go down any kind of path, what could have been happened to make them go down there? And some people say that actually going down there and the suffering is what deterred them and made them realise there's better. But I think, is there an option to try to
Then trauma.
minimize, just completely eradicate 13 years olds taking alcohol when they're stressed? I think if your mum had caught you at that time, what could she have done to make you not do that?
If she just put the bottle, so if she just hid the bottle, then I wouldn't.
So
I wouldn't go out of my way to buy the booze.
That's my point. So what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying about every single action. Yeah, whatever we do as adults, as long as our children see it, it has influence. So if they see us being constructive, then that can have influence, right?
Yeah.
And that's why being constructive, doing things that are beneficial, and leading that strong foot forward is what I recommend.
I just don't think, I'll be honest, man, I just don't think a lot of black people are disciplined enough to carry out what needs to be done for black children to blossom into true infrastructure leaders. I just don't think there's enough of them. Don't get me wrong, there is some, but there's just not enough black people with discipline, because a lot of black people, they still like the, how can I explain? They still can't do without westernized, how can I explain? Westernized degenerate vices. There's certain westernized degenerate vices that some black people just can't do without. When they say like, life ain't worth living without doing it. And it's a case of where if you've got that mentality, and it is what it is, man. It's just got to.
So we're talking about how to influence the youth to do constructive work or to get into a career path that they feel is beneficial, and hopefully not have youth very young years old getting down the path of addictive vice behaviour. And I think the brother's is saying that, unfortunately from his experience, he hasn't seen a leadership quality amongst many of the black people he's been around to try to steer the children around from falling that same kind of path that they might be on. So then what is to be done then, if that's the case? If what you're saying is correct, what is to be done? Because obviously we can't, having children developing addictive behavioural patterns isn't...
One thing I'd say was good about the black population of children in England now is that in comparison to Arab children, white children, Asian children, they actually consume not that much drugs and alcohol in comparison.
Okay.
That's one thing that you can say in comparison.
But you're saying from what you understand that functioning under those drugs is a problematic thing.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah.
And this is once again, it's your research, so I'm going to go with it.
Yeah. Black children actually do not experiment with as much drugs as white children and Asian children, believe it or not.
Right. So what you're saying is, even though they don't experiment, from your findings, they find it harder to balance the life-fun ratio, where it takes over more. Yeah? So they're doing these kind of vices and stuff, but also they can't do other things, i.e., like you said, hold down a job.
Some fam. There's some.
Because you gave an example about some European guys.
Oh yeah, the European guys are the best at balancing narcotic taking and alcohol taking while being functioning in the economic market as either a self-employed or employed. They're the best. Black people just aren't the best at it. But obviously there's black people that can still function while alcoholics and on narcotics. But it's just obviously it's not something that we recommend.
So I'm back.
Yeah.
So how we got here was, I think originally we were talking about, you made a statement saying that you're going to talk to the next generation and say, unfortunately, there are many people in our age range who didn't really see certain things through and didn't really second generation wealth and create industries for you to inherit. So it's kind of like your job's now to try to do that.
Fix the problem.
Yeah,
basically, I just have to be honest. I have to be honest. I'm talking to children, like, I have to be honest with children and say, listen, when I was 18, 19 years old, or 20 years old, I could see that there's disparities in the economy of where black people are doing awful and white people are doing a lot better. Now, at that 20 years old, I should have really put my noggin and thinking into a point of trying to build something to try and do something constructive to help black people, but I didn't. I was more self-absorbed in myself. So I have to be honest with them and say I was more selfish, just thinking, right, as long as I got a car, as long as I got a place for me to stay, as long as my woman sees that, as long as I got women around because they can see that I can afford to travel and stuff, that's all I care about. All I care about is me. But then when you got that mentality where you just think about your little unit.
So you're moving on to individualism versus collectivism, right? You're saying this is the issue we have at the moment, where usually when I talk to many brothers and sisters, they might spout off like the amazing individual achievements that they've got, but they do say that their thing is to really focus on themselves and integrate in other societies, and that will not necessarily work as a collective with brothers and sisters and do anything that's industry based and collective based and stuff.
I think it's a case of where a lot of black men and black women, they just see that. Let's just put it like this. It's a program, and what they're seeing is they want to get with the program. They're saying, listen, what they say to themselves is this. A lot of black men and black women, they say to themselves, look, you know what? As much as I would love to see a lovely paradise where black people have their own schools, black people have their own hospitals and research and all that, right now, I cannot see this blossoming tomorrow or next year. So let me think what I can do right now for happiness. They just say to themselves, right now, it's best that I just have a partner, have some children, and function within the white male's economic system, basic. It's best, that's what it is. People just get in, they just say to themselves, they just say, listen, I need to think of how can I get happiness right now. They're not thinking of long term. Yes, that's where you go, that's where I'm going. They don't say to themselves, do you know what? Let me think of a long-term thing of where it's going to be more beneficial. They think, listen, man, I don't want to I just want to get happiness right now. What do I have to do? I don't want to step on the white male's toes, because people are not stupid. You don't have to research, listen, you do not have to research black history, and you don't have to research world history to understand that when you start functioning in a way of helping black or melanated interest economically, it upsets the agenda of white infrastructure and it upsets the agenda of the white economic system. You don't actually have to research anything to know that. You start to understand that in school, you start to understand that in your workplace. Go to school and start talking to your teacher. As a black person, start talking to your teacher, wouldn't it be good if, say, some black people had their own school? See what your response would be back from the white teachers.
So I guess what we're saying, we're moving to the way, like, we are thinking, what is it that you do to make black children feel, remain focused and dedicated?
You've got to bear them now. This it might sound strange. You've got to bear them with a responsibility that basically we were fuck-ups.
Let's try this.
You got to take pride away.
Let's try this clean language.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
The kids are going to be watching, so we want them to.
Yeah,
so that's another thing. Discipline. You said so. Let's unpack that, right?
Sorry.
When we come here, let's have some discipline because we're expressing that some of us in the old generation have dropped the ball and not necessarily trained the kids how to be disciplined, and then we ourselves are disciplined. Might be from that, right? So let's do it. Let's start with that. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, we just have to just be honest and say we failed. As in, we have to say we were so dedicated to just keep on our head down and not upsetting white male infrastructural management and directors. We were so focused on not upsetting white male infrastructure and just keep on our head down, that we've literally guided you into being even more dependent and vulnerable within their system.
Right. So then if we recognize this, then I guess it's like what are we doing to motivate the youth? Because we can tell them, we can put the burden on them, right? But surely there should be some kind of motivation to...
Believe it or not, children are more stronger than you think they are. As in, if we're just real with the children, we say, listen, we messed up. We put you in a position where now you are having to depend on white male infrastructure for your medicine, for your clothing, for your education, for your employment, for your travel when you want to travel to country. You happen to they're basically your demigods.
So you're saying...
We've made these people your demigods.
So you're saying that teaching the importance of ownership. So one thing, don't get me wrong, I think it's very good to highlight other communities and stuff, right? And how those communities affect our community. But at the same point, we do want to talk about our community specifically, right? And go like, you know, you are creating the industry that we need for these particular things. If you look on certain kind of platforms or TV or whatever it might be, you're not seeing yourself, you're not seeing things that benefit you, you don't represent, if there's certain illnesses that's affecting you, it's like, even like, it's your responsibility to fix you. Right? I think that might be like more of a better strategy of how to do it with the youth.
Yeah, that could work, but I'm kind of also believe in shock value, where I believe children, believe it or not, you give them the shock value, they will take this. Let me explain something to you. Do you know that there's outside of England, say in Africa and the Caribbean, in Africa and the Caribbean, you know, and South America, there's many times where children of white, native Indian, even in Asia, you know, sometimes both parents die, and literally a 15-year-old to 13-year-olds will take the burden of literally looking after a whole load of freaking babies. I mean, it's real. They will take the burden, 13-year-olds and 15-year-olds will take upon the burden of literally looking after babies and children and raising them up good, and at the same time keeping the household going. And some of them even taking on jobs to... Children are more powerful than you think. And deal with the trauma of losing their parent at the same time. And do a good job.
So do we see black children today have that motivation to stay focused on black issues and look for challenges?
Only when you bear them the burden. You have to understand the mindset of black children's too. You know what the mindset of black children today is?
Guys, here we go. Yeah, come on. All right, we've got a great guest there, brother. So I said you earlier, so we'll come to me.
Yeah.
I said you earlier that we were talking...
You might pass the mic, back up a bit, please.
What happened?
Sorry.
No, you have to back up a bit.
Yeah.
Pass the mic,
Oh, so is this echo now, yeah? Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if they're going to... if we were to drag it in, because he don't want to be seen with, really. Because will it pick him up from over there, bro? So if, I don't know, unless you give him like a mask. Give him a mask. Executioner. Will that pick him up as well? Yeah, look at that. There you go. My brother, yeah. So we've got Mr. X here, yeah? Mr. X.
Mr. X, yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier, and then I found out that you were actually trying to get into app design, UX design, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that story, and we'll see if we can make a conversation about it.
Yeah, so obviously I've had a different journey. Done a bit of this, done a bit of that. Landed myself eventually in construction. And then obviously after a while, one of my friends got into programming, and the industry is just, I've never seen like this type of money that can be made, like legitimately. So he encouraged me to get into it. Spent about $9,000, banged out a course.
So basically, you've come from one industry, And then friends of yours said that in the tech industry, it's like a boom going because everyone seems to need apps at the moment.
It's a crazy boom going. It's like, listen, you have to get into this industry. So I thought it was just I thought coding or programming or any of these tech things, including UX, these computer whizzes or whatever, I didn't really see myself in it. And I saw several people succeed in the field, and they don't necessarily have a strict academic background.
So let's break it down for the people at home. So basically what it is normally when you get into text and stuff, apps and text and kind of stuff, a lot of people a bit fearful because of you might have to have a history of programming or even of technology and software design and stuff. But I think from the area you're coming from what's known as user experience design.
Yeah.
And user experience designers don't actually program. What they do is they design the experience. They study users who use a product, and they try to see how to use the product and try to make that product, when we say product, like phones and this kind of stuff, how to make that product best for the person who's using it, and they call that the user experience design.
Yep.
And that's the area that you saw, and you decided to raise $9,000 of your own money to fund your course.
Yeah, it's coming out of my account on a monthly one, but it's a significant expense, but it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth investing in
That's
yourself.
good, because what you're saying is that there's something you saw and you believed in it, and you're willing to pay for what you're doing.
Yeah, otherwise, if you don't put money in yourself, you don't take it seriously.
And the reason why that's important is because I think I was saying that when I first came to Speaker's Corner, I was looking for other brothers and sisters who want to get into tech. And so whether it's user design, motion design, app design, development, programming, graphic design, whatever it might be, things that we can utilize to make apps, because my understanding is apps is a very good way to connect black people and to get us to do constructive things. But if I find that brothers like you are putting your own money, you're doing the research, and you want to learn, and that will motivate me to get people like you and some others to do courses, pro bono courses, training courses, and networking seminars, so we can actually try to learn from each other.
One of the most surprising things I found is that there's money out there.
Yes.
It's just a lack of information.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And man them don't know, people don't know that there are actually these lucrative industries that you don't have to know Tom, Dick, and Harry and go to posh school. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, so if you're mentioning that there is an advantage and you raise $9,000 and there's potential there.
Yeah.
If you say that, it means there will be opportunity for scammers to put their thing to scam people. So how can you tell people to avoid not caught up in to be scammed?
I mean, to be honest,
So
he might have a better answer.
So what I was saying is that usually when people want to learn a particular thing, there's a whole lot of courses and stuff out there that allegedly are trying to teach people how to learn these particular skills, but actually it's a scam, and maybe you pay them and they disappear, or they don't teach you what you want. This is the thing, you have to do your due diligence. I suspect, brother, you did your due diligence, right? Right?
Accredited people, obviously.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Accredited people, they've had a history of people in the industry, they have testimonies.
Basics. Oh, yeah.
It's not a mashed up looking website. There's the same way, like if you log into any sort of retail, how do you know Etsy is not a scam? Enough people, or eBay or whatever, enough people logged onto it, walk from it, that they have a track history. So,
for example, when you buy stuff online, you also want to read all the 300. So you see one online, they've sold 300 books. Another company, they've sold 4 books. The guys who sold 300 books, they've got maybe 250 reviews, right? So you can see, and you see the consistency saying, this is good, they came on time. While the other guys, they might not have a review, or the reviews might be talking, or they were bad. So you have to use that kind of discernment to make a choice between when you spend your money. It is a good point, especially like $9,000 is quite a lot of money to raise for something, right? And it wouldn't be best if you paid that and it wasn't what they said it was going to be. So that is a good point. By the same token, taking yourself seriously is important, and doing the research and actually trying to, you see something you want to do, you research, and then you pay for it. Yeah. So anyway, that was a brother there. So nice quick talk there. But what I was saying is the reason why that was important is because the brother wants to do a particular thing that I'm into and that I do. There's some other brothers who might as well. So the idea is how we network with each other, having each one teach one philosophy, and actually teaching each other to build this app. So for example, the brother wants to be paid making apps, right? It's a very lucrative business job to get paid making apps. However, that's phase one. Phase two might be, and now you've been hired from someone to make an app, you come together with other people and make a particular app that is focused for that needs. And that's my area of interest. How to work with other brothers and sisters who are programmers, developers, networkers, copywriters, motion designers, big data programmers, all this kind of stuff. And how we come together to make a particular application that caters to the needs of black people. So it's about establishing what do black people need. What is it that we're struggling with? So when the brother was talking, there's many things he was talking about that we could identify as a challenge. So for example, if he was saying that being addicted to drugs is a particular challenge in some areas of life, then maybe an application that deals with that and tries to remedy that might be an idea. We don't think of it, but for most things in the world, there's an app to represent it. So it's like, how do we do that? Different. Yeah? So that's interesting what it is, right? Is there any other questions? Any questions, bro?
Yeah, I know about it. You have a business, you teach you something like this, business,
Okay, so what the brother asked is, he asked me, do I have a business? And
you teach.
yeah. So me personally, I'm a contractor designer. So I UI designer, UX designer, graphic designer, motion designer, and video editor. And I've been doing this for 20 years. That's what I do. And I tend to I look for certain people to network with from the community to help out their businesses or be hired by them and so forth, right? But when it comes to pro bono work, what I tend to do is I find a set of skills that people want to learn. I find the people who teach it, and we set up like either Zoom meetings, hire out halls for people to learn. And that's what I'm doing currently now, right? So if you're someone who's into something like that, once again, it's also about mindsets as well, because even though I'm training a lot of black people to do better, ultimately what I'm saying is I'm teaching the philosophy of black people working with black people on black issues. Yeah? So that you're part of a community and you're responsible to fix it. And I'm training you because I'm making you a skillful person who's going to use those skills and talents to go back in the community and try to either teach it again, or hire people, or work with people, and get that kind of economic money circulating and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's literally what I do. And if you're basically, there's every Friday at 10 o'clock, if you type in Black Veteran Broadcasting on YouTube, there's a show every Friday at 10 o'clock. It's all black constructive people trying to find solutions. In there, we give out links, Discord, all this kind of stuff. Discord app, link app, WhatsApp apps, you name it, of people trying to network. So in that kind of environment, and even here, I'll just take a number. Right? That's what we do. But you have to have a purpose. You have to something you want to do. It has to tickle your fancy, right? Yeah.
Have you tapped into Barbados industry?
The Barbados industry. Give me an example. What do you mean?
Your business and stuff, have you been over there?
So me personally,
People over there.
so I've been to Barbados, right? I've done one kind of thing. And what I tend to do is I've got like a database of businesses in Africa and the Caribbean. Because I do certain projects that need certain skills. Whenever I need a particular skill, whether it's a designer, programmer, or copywriter, whatever, I go on that database and I contact those individuals. So if there's any people in Barbados, for example, I was recently looking for comic art designers, people who specialize in comic art styles, and that splits off into penciler, inker, and colorist. And colorist leads into Photoshop and this kind of stuff. So, because I was looking for that, if you're in that database, I'll contact you. If you have any people who do that, then you will give me that number and I'll add to it. Also, if you have a particular skill, if you're a plumber, work like this, give me your details, and you join a network, and you put your skills in this network. Whenever someone's looking for a particular thing like, oh, I need a person from Barbados or a person from London who does this, Persian Brits Network, they're going to find you can talk back and forth. So it's black community, that's why I do that. But there's a purpose, right? The purpose is how to unite black people being constructive and fixing black issues within black community. It's very important that the black community fixes black issues.
So I kept hitting it.
It's very important that black people look out for other black people and black issues. And I come here every other week when I get time between time, promote this. I have to find brothers like that who are trying to get in. He said himself, he had no idea that these issues existed. When he grew up, all we saw was one particular thing. So that's why it's good to have networks and try to educate our people on what is the most constructive and useful kind of industries out there that we can get into that can pay very well, but is also very handy for black people. So that's what it is.
There's only so much they can cut.
Yeah? That makes sense. So anyway, that's Our Corner, everyone. Brother, did you want to finish your thing so I can? Did you want to finish what you were saying? Because they did jump in. I can't remember what you were saying, but did you want to finish it? You're welcome, bro.
I just did. Oh yeah, stand there.
You go there. Can you see us?
Just to finish on a positive note, I think it's a good thing to encourage children to get into information technology and get into a good path where they're not making mistakes and getting themselves in bad financial situations and just the general stuff really. And also they help their own community, to be fair.
That's the key point there, right? Responsibility and letting them know that they're part of the community and they're part of the greater change. Yeah, they're part of it as well. So, yeah. All right, family. Unless there's any questions on that, we're going to wrap that quick. The sun's going down. I'm going to go home soon. Yeah. But if you can come down, Speakers Corner. Also, big up to COE. Make sure you subscribe to COE, but you're on there already, so hopefully you'll subscribe. Also, type in the Black Betterment Broadcast. Come along. Let's have discussions about solutions. Let's be constructive. Let's see if we can steer the youth to do things constructive. This week we've tackled UI UX design. It's something I'm very passionate about, getting the youth into apps, and we can use these apps to create solutions for black challenges. Oh yeah, very good. Anyway, we're good. Let's end it there. Oh yeah, peace. Well done, family.